Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. Looks like my CDX finally came in the mail today, so I thought we'd do a video and kind of do a little bit of an overview of it, just to show you guys what it can do. I've been wanting one of these things for quite some time and never got around to getting one, mostly because they're just so damn expensive and hard to find too, even on eBay. But this Christmas I ordered one with some Christmas money, so this is really cool. This is finally an awesome piece to add to the collection, and it feels really great to have one now. As far as a basic overview of the system goes, obviously, as you can see right here, is a cartridge slot for Sega Genesis titles, and of course, with the open button here, this is where you would put in your Sega CDs. This thing can also be used as a music player. It's even got its own separate volume, line out, and headphone jack here on this side. And kind of like the Genesis 3 model, it has its AV input right there on the side as well. The back really doesn't have much going on aside from the port for the AC adapter, and over on this side there's actually a little compartment for the batteries should you want to take this out and use it as a portable Discman, though I'm not really sure why anyone would want to do that. The controller ports on the CDX are on the front left and front right of the console, which is kind of cool, along with the power button there in the middle. On top of the system, you've got some pretty basic CD controls. There's obviously the open button, and those are for skipping tracks forward and backwards, a play, pause, a stop, and a reset button. Now, after playing with the reset button, the only thing I could get it to reset was just the Sega CD games. It doesn't actually work as far as resetting Genesis titles, at least not that I'm aware of. So let's go ahead and plug this thing in, and I will show you guys what it is capable of. Alright guys, well, we've got it hooked up, so I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to show you a couple of different things here. We're going to show the Sega Genesis cartridge, how it works with a Sega CD, and I'm even going to be plugging in a 32X just to show you that it does indeed work with a 32X. So let's go ahead and start with the Genesis cartridge. For this we're going to be using Splatterhouse 3. Alright guys, now as you can see, Splatterhouse fits right into the top there into the cartridge slot, and let's power it on. And when you power it on with a cartridge in there, I don't know if you can see it, but it says game on the little LCD display. And on the TV, it pops right up without a problem. It looks great too. I have to say that the video quality on the CDX far surpasses my Genesis 3 or any Genesis 2 or even my Model 1 Genesis that I used to use. Everything looks a lot clearer and not so washed out like my other ones did. I don't know if these are built a little bit different or have a better video chip in them. It's possible. I haven't seen much about that. Anyway, as you can see, that is how the cartridge slot works, and works really well. So next, we will pop in a Sega CD and see what it does. Now when you put in a Sega CD, you have to make sure that there's no cartridge in the cartridge slot or it'll automatically read from that. So whenever you want to play a Sega CD game, you just have to make sure to take anything out of the cartridge slot that may be in there. So for this test, we're going to be using Sol Feace for the Sega CD. So we just pop it in there and hit the power button. Now this time, the LCD also reads game, and it'll pull up track numbers and even tell you when it's accessing data or whatever. See, as you can see, it says accessing. There it goes. It kicks right into the game. So definitely awesome. I remember on my Model 1 Sega CD way back in the day, you actually had to hit start once the CD was in there. I don't know if that was just me, but on my system for some reason I always had to hit start. So anyway, there's Sol Feace. So there's an example of how well the Sega CD functionality works. So now, let's show everybody how the 32X works. Now, a lot of people have said that the 32X does work on the CDX, that it doesn't work on the CDX. Well, I'm here to tell you that it does work, and it actually works really well. So let's go ahead and plug in that 32X, and we'll see how well it does. Alright guys, now we've got everything hooked up as far as the 32X goes, including its extra AC adapter. But one thing to note about the CDX, which is really awesome about it, is being that it's a Genesis and a Sega CD in one, normally with any of those combinations you have two giant AC adapters. For the CDX, you just have one kind of big box adapter for the entire system. So it's really the only real way, aside from an XI or something like that, to run a Genesis / Sega CD off of one AC adapter, which is definitely awesome when you don't have as much space as far as power outlets go like I do. I have all of my adapters kind of chained together across multiple power strips. But anyway, for this 32X test, we're going to be using Cosmic Carnage, which is one of my personal favorite 32X titles. Okay, so we've got our game in there, we've got our 32X all hooked up, and then we can just go ahead and hit power here. And as you can see on the television, it boots directly right into Cosmic Carnage. So there you go. It does in fact work with the 32X, and it actually works really, really well. On my Genesis 2, I had a constant problem with the 32X where if I tried to play a Genesis game in the 32X while it was attached to the Genesis, the colors would look really weird. It would still work, but a lot of them were just overly bright, or some of the colors really looked like they bled too much. So with the CDX, it definitely works a lot better. The only real bummer about having the 32X installed on top of the CDX is just simply that the lid for the Sega CD does not open all the way. See, as you can see, it only opens about halfway. But, you know, it's not that big an inconvenience, being that you really can still, you know, pretty comfortably get a disc in there and close the lid. So let's see what happens if we power it off and power it on with the disc in it and the 32X, and see if it boots right up to the CD. Alright, well, it does look like it's doing it. And as you can see, it is accessing again. So yeah, it looks like it boots right up to it. I would definitely recommend the CDX after playing around with it a bit for any big Genesis, Sega CD, or 32X enthusiast. It's a really nice small package, and it works really well for every function. And the video quality is fantastic, the sound quality is fantastic. And if you wanted to, you could even do a line out with this one for stereo sound, since it has the line out port. Like I said, it works great with the 32X. I've had no problems with that whatsoever. And Sega CD and Genesis, I mean, it's quick, it's simple, it's quiet, only one AC adapter. The only downside to the CDX is its price. It's pretty difficult to find one for under about $150 to $200. I ended up paying about $200 for this one, but it did come with some extra stuff. This one ended up coming with a CD backup cart, which is a backup RAM cart for the Sega CD saving and loading, just in case you need that extra space. And it even came with a copy of Gunstar Heroes as well, which is, you know, of course, an awesome game for the Sega Genesis, so you can't really argue with that. Another thing that my system bundle came with was a Lethal Enforcer's Justifier gun for the Genesis as well, which is super cool because I do have Lethal Enforcers and it's one of my favorite games, but I didn't have the gun, so it kind of persuaded me to buy that bundle even more. But anyway, yeah, I would definitely recommend the CDX to anyone who's big into the Genesis and Sega CD, and even the 32X. The only real downfall, aside from the lid not opening all the way with the 32X on it, is that, as you can see, it looks almost completely ridiculous. It looks so stupid. But, you know, aside from it looking kind of dumb, it's fully functional and works great. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for our CDX overview video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and as always, everybody, stay classic.